Welcome back. Today I'm sharing my recipe for these delicious chocolate cinnamon rolls. To make them, we start by mixing together our dry ingredients. I'm adding 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder, 1 packet of instant dry yeast, 1 teaspoon of instant espresso, and 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to mix that together with my dough hook just until the ingredients are combined, and then in a separate bowl I'm combining 1 cup of whole milk, a half a cup of granulated sugar, and 1/4 cup of butter. I'm going to heat this in the microwave just until it's warm to the touch, and then I'm going to pour it into my dry ingredients. I'm then going to mix together my dough on a medium speed just until it comes together. Now you can make these cinnamon rolls by hand or with a KitchenAid. It's obviously a lot less work if you use a KitchenAid, but I've made them by hand and they turn out great that way as well. Once our dough has started to come together, I'm adding in 1 large room temperature egg, which I'm going to mix together into the dough. At this point in time, you want to mix the dough for about 2 to 3 minutes on a medium speed until the dough becomes elastic in texture. Then it's time to start adding in a little bit more flour, 1 tablespoon at a time, until the dough ball starts to pull away from the sides of the bowl. Once it reaches this stage, you can set it aside and cover it with some plastic wrap to let it rest for about 15 minutes. While it rests, I'm combining 2/3 cup of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of black cocoa, and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon together to be our filling. Next, it's time to roll out our dough. So before we do this, I like to really heavily flour my counter so that my dough doesn't stick, and I roll my dough out to be about 10 inches by 18 inches. Next, I'm spreading 1/4 cup of butter on top of my dough, and then I'm sprinkling on all of our chocolate filling. I like to use the back of a spoon to kind of spread out the filling and make sure it's an even layer across the cinnamon rolls. And then it's time for, in my opinion, the most stressful part, rolling them up. As you do this, you just want to take your time and work your way from one side to the other to create a nice tight cinnamon roll. And also, as you guys can see, we didn't put the filling all the way up to the edge on the top of that roll, just that way it will stick together a little bit better. You can seal it off using a little bit of extra water. Once our cinnamon roll was ready to go, I used a ruler and a knife to make some indentations on my cinnamon roll log, and then I like to use dental floss to cut super clean slices of my cinnamon rolls. It might sound a little crazy, but it works so well. If you try to use a knife, sometimes you can crush your cinnamon rolls, so I highly recommend doing that too. Next, I'm covering my cinnamon rolls with foil, placing them in a warm area and letting them rise for about 30 minutes. Then we bake them in a 350-degree oven for about 25 to 32 minutes. While they bake, I made a delicious chocolate glaze, and I'm drizzling that over my cinnamon rolls once they've cooled for 5 to 10 minutes. You don't want to do it when they're straight out of the oven, or else it will completely melt and you won't have any pretty drizzles. I chose to make a chocolate glaze just because I figured why not go all out with the chocolate, but you could totally use a vanilla or a cream cheese glaze too. And now it's time for the best part, to dive into these cinnamon rolls. They are so fluffy and packed with chocolate. I highly recommend giving them a try. If you guys want to make them at home, the recipe is up on Chelsweets.com. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys again soon.